How would 23 million developers solve some of the world's greatest problems? I'm Tonya Hall, and joining me is Daniel Krook, Chief Technology Officer, IBM Code and Response Initiative, and Call for Code. Welcome, Daniel.
Thanks for having me, Tanya.
So, welcome back, I should say. Explain the Call for Code challenge that's happening and the theme for 2019.
Sure. So we're in the second year of a 5-year program with Call for Code. It's a yearly competition. Last year, we focused on natural disasters. And because it's such a pressing issue, a humanitarian issue, affects so many people and communities around the world, we doubled down on the scope. So again, it's asking developers to address challenges related to natural disasters, but we also added a little bit of a flavor around health and well-being. So focusing on the individuals and the communities that are affected by natural disasters.
Who are the sponsors and partners for the challenge?
So last year we kicked off with the United Nations Human Rights Office, as well as the American Red Cross and the Linux Foundation. So those partners, they're core to the to the Call for Code initiative, along with founder David Clark Cause. And so we've expanded our community to include other enterprises, co-working spaces, startups, and other organizations, standards organizations like the CNCF and other sponsors participating this year. So it's a growing community, public, private, and individuals.
So, tell us about the participants. How many and from where in the world are they from?
Sure. So the Call for Code Challenge is a global virtual event, but we also did satellite events around the world, either run by IBM developer advocates or in partnership with other organizations. So all told, this year, about 180,000 developers took part in some form or another. And they created 5,000 applications, started working with code, started working with some sample applications that were already positioned to help them build solutions to natural disaster preparedness and response, but also create new applications. And we hit developers in 165 countries this year. Last year was 156. It was amazing to build on that number of nations, um, uh, you know, uh, states and countries and nations around the world. So it's great to see that growth as well.
Now, you just announced the top 5 finalists. So, give us a brief introduction to them and what was special about their entries?
Sure. So we just announced the top 5 finalists, and the ultimate winner will be known and announced on October 12th. So they come from around the world. They represent a team of developers from various countries in Europe who created an application for helping communities triage emergency calls during a natural disaster. So supplementing human operators with technology to answer the calls, understand the need, and help prioritize response. Um, there is another application, Helios, which helps get people who are affected by natural disasters. One of the unseen issues with natural disasters is the effect on people's mental health, the stress of losing a job, being out of their home, things like that that go beyond immediate physical injuries. So Helios created an application that helps connect people with mental health professionals and helps track a history of their interactions initially as they come in to interface with the system through a bot, so that caseworkers can use that to understand what the needs of that person are and kind of scale the skills that they have to address the mental health issues. We then had Prometeo, an amazing application from a team in Catalonia in Spain, who had actually members on their team, a nurse and a firefighter, along with the developer and the data scientist. And what they were able to do is test out their prototype actually to help understand what a firefighter is exposed to when addressing wildfires and how they can learn about um, sensing some of the dangerous chemicals involved in that work, tracking it over time, and understanding if that person should be removed from the situation, or over time should they be given leave or break or something like that. So monitoring the health, ensuring they're able to have the most effective response to wildfires. We had Rove, based in North America, from a bunch of students from UCLA. And they created an application that depends actually on SMS to start. So there's a lot of applications that you think you'd be using older technology, but are still the sort of things that are available during disasters when things like 4G, 5G aren't available. So they have an interface where folks can express their needs over SMS, and that is also sent over to a dashboard where first responders, incident commanders can understand the needs of a community, group them together, and then help responders plot a path to those people, those groups of people, to effectively deliver response. And the final application comes from a team with members from India, and they're connected with a local hospital over there. And what they do is also provide a way to have people extend WhatsApp or Messenger or whatever social media tool they have, connect people through a proxy to an artificial intelligence tool for helping them diagnose injuries, but also connect them to individual medical professionals, starting with that hospital in India. So there's a great common theme to all these applications this year, which is different from last year, which is that we're seeing not only teams of developers come up with solutions based on understanding the needs expressed by NGO partners, but also with folks on the teams that have experienced natural disasters themselves, such as the firefighters in the case of Prometeo, as well as Aster, a firefighter from Paris, and, and a psychology student on the Helios team, who's deeply involved at Columbia University. So great to see those cross-functional teams again this year, and the amazing types of applications that came from across the world.
This year specifically, you also announced regional finalists. Why was that important?
Yeah, so last year, we had people contributing from 156 nations, and we ended up only with the 5 global winners, and many of them were based in North America, even though we had participation from around the world. So again, this year, India has risen to create a bunch of applications, but we also realized that there was a lot of different solutions that may not have been resonated globally, but could be very effective locally in a community. So we wanted to recognize all the great applications that were coming in with more awards, with more encouragement to develop the ideas, but also recognize that there are regional solutions where technology can make a difference, even if it's not something that's going to be transferable everywhere in the world.
You mentioned announcing the winner on October 12th. What happens with the winning solution?
So the core goal of Call for Code was always that we encourage innovation, not only within the context of the competition, but that there was going to be a supporting framework to take those ideas and put them into action. So when we launched Call for Code last year, we wanted to take the winners and help deploy them by giving them the cash prize, access to the Linux Foundation for best practices around open source, venture capital mentorship, and access to an IBM team of experts to help them deploy the application, improve it, and connect them with local stakeholders. So that's where Code and Response came from. That's why it was launched this year. So again, the Code and Response program is that framework for bringing partners together like the American Red Cross and other experts to help take these solutions, refine them, test them, and implement them where they can be used in the field and for real, and that there's a sustainable business model around them. So the winners this year are going to benefit just like last year's winner, Project Owl, who we've been doing a bunch of pilot tests with and are going to do another test with in Puerto Rico in October.
Nice. Daniel Krook, Chief Technology Officer, IBM Code and Response Initiative, and Call for Code. Thanks again, Daniel, for joining us. Exciting news, and a good luck to everyone that's participating. If somebody wants to connect with you, or maybe they want to find out more about this, how can they do that?
Well, the best way to get in touch is on Twitter. It's my full name, so at Daniel Krook.
Sounds good. And if you guys want to find more of my interviews, you can do that right here or go to tonyahall.net. Thanks for watching.